Stop waiting. Stop hunting for the perfect playlist, the perfect sunrise, the perfect mood. Motivation is not a gift that arrives like a courier with a neat box and a receipt. Motivation is a furnace you light from inside, and if you depend on the weather outside your head, you will always shiver. Today, I'm going to show you how to find the furnace already inside you, how to feed it, and how to make it burn so that you don't collapse every time the wind changes. Look at your life for one honest minute. What are you doing because you feel like it? And what are you doing because you have to? Most people live in survival mode, reacting, distracting, letting the loudest impulse steer the wheel. That's comfortable in the short term, but catastrophic for the life you actually want. The single difference between people who create and people who drift is one word: choice. When you choose, you convert motion into meaning. When you wait, motion becomes noise. The truth you need to accept, and fast, is that external motivators are temporary. Praise, money, attention, even emergency deadlines work, but they are like sugar, high for a bit, then a crash. You can build a life on sugar, but you'll be exhausted. Instead, you must discover the deeper fuel, the why that lives beneath the what. This is not mystical, it is practical. It is the no-nonsense engine of sustained action. So what is the internal source? It is a clear sense of purpose, a personal compass, and a short chain of habits that translate intention into action. It is the small, sacred conversation you hold with yourself every morning. Not, am I motivated, but what will I do right now? Motivation follows motion. Want to prove it? Try doing one small thing, one honest, visible step, and notice how your body and mind rally. You don't wait to feel like starting, you start, and feeling follows. Your brain loves stories. If you tell your brain the right story every day, it will start arranging your life to match. That's where imagination and attention come in. Visualize, not as daydreaming, but as rehearsal. See the person you want to be in crisp detail, how they move, what voice they use, what they do when the alarm rings. The imagination is not a luxury, it's a blueprint. People like Earl Nightingale and Napoleon Hill taught this in different words. Your dominant thoughts shape your destiny. That's not poetic fluff, it's operational. Your mind organizes reality around your most practiced images. Let's make this concrete. I don't want you to read this and nod and then close the video. I want you to act. Right now, pause for 30 seconds and name one project that matters to you. Not something abstract like be fit or be successful, but a precise, visible project. Finish the first chapter of your book. Design the landing page. Call that client. Run 20 minutes. Record one video. Hold that image. Now ask yourself, why does it matter? Not because it will give me money, unless that's your real why. Go deeper. Because it will prove something? Because it will change how you feel in the morning? Because it will rescue your self-respect? The deeper the why, the harder the fire. Now, habits. Habits are the plumbing of motivation. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a reliable system. Choose a tiny habit that advances the project you named. Tiny is key. If your goal is to write, don't start with write a chapter every day. Start with open the document and write one paragraph. That's it. The friction must be lower than your current resistance. When you do the tiny habit daily, the neural pathways reinforce, and what was hard becomes automatic. That's the magic behind lasting motivation, not a heroic surge, but consistent micro-actions. Your inner dialogue is the gatekeeper. The sentences you repeat to yourself either feed the furnace or dump water on it. Most people are their own worst saboteur. Using the language of defeat without noticing. I'm not built for this. I'll do it when I feel ready. I'm not creative. Replace those sentences deliberately. Don't fake optimism. Instead, practice truth with leverage. Say, I will do one concrete thing right now, or I can improve by 1% today. Small, believable claims win. When you consistently tell yourself accurate, actionable truths, your nervous system stops arguing and starts doing. There will be resistance. Expect it and plan for it. Resistance shows up as fear, boredom, distraction, and 1,000 convenient reasons to postpone. The most dangerous response is bargaining. I'll rest first, then I'll start. That arrangement almost never materializes. Instead, use the 5-minute principle. Commit to working on the task for 5 minutes. You will almost always go beyond 5. If you don't, you still did 5 minutes. And 5 minutes done consistently beats inspiration 99 times out of 100. Another weapon, ritual. Design a short, repeatable pre-action ritual that signals your brain it's time to move. It could be as simple as making a cup of strong tea, clearing a small patch of desk, doing 3 breath cycles, or turning on a specific playlist. Rituals reduce decision fatigue and make action predictable. The less you have to choose, the more likely you will act. Let's talk about identity, because this is where the long game is won or lost. Goals are temporary, identities last. If you want to be a person who finishes things, train your identity accordingly. The language shift is subtle but powerful. Instead of, I want to be someone who writes, say, I am someone who writes. Not as arrogance, as a factual claim you will align with through tiny, consistent actions. Each micro-action becomes evidence. You are not pretending, you are documenting. Practical tip. Carry a tiny evidence list. At the end of each day, write one line. What you did that moved you forward. No judgment, only facts. Over weeks, the list becomes a map showing progress you might otherwise miss. It rewires your belief about who you are. Belief follows evidence, and tiny actions produce evidence. Now, a quick myth to crush. Motivation is not intrinsic or extrinsic exclusively. It's a relationship between the two. External triggers, a deadline, a public commitment, a team, can kickstart you. But the engine that keeps the machine running is internal purpose and routine. Use external inputs as accelerants, not crutches. Public commitments are useful. Tell someone small and specific what you will do. The accountability will produce a short-term pressure that your internal system can adopt as fuel. But never outsource your core reason. That must be yours. One more thing. Beware of all or nothing thinking. People imagine the heroic version of themselves and then punish the present one. That gap creates guilt and paralysis. Instead, practice progressive identity building. Small actions plus honest feedback plus one daily ritual plus 5-minute starts equals exponential progress. The climb is not glamorous every minute, but it is real and it compounds. You may hear coaches and writers name big concepts and quote gurus. That's fine. Take the useful fragments. Dale Carnegie reminded people that we win favor by making others feel important. Use that idea to build relationships that support your projects. Earl Nightingale spoke about the power of thought. Use that to align your imagination with your actions. But don't worship quotes. Use them as tools, not idols. Before I wrap this part, here are 3 simple moves you can do right now to light your internal furnace and keep it feeding your days. 1. Name one visible project and write the specific reason it matters to you. 2. Commit to a micro-habit. Just one tiny action you can repeat daily that advances that project. 3.
Create a 30-second ritual that signals your brain you are shifting into action. Do these for a week and record what changes. You will be surprised how quickly the internal mechanism responds when you give it a pattern it can trust. Now it's your turn. I want to hear what you choose, and I want to see commitment, not excuses. Write a comment below naming the one specific project you will start in the next hour and the tiny first action you will take. Be concrete. Be honest. What will you do in the next 60 minutes that proves you are serious?
Part 2. You asked for the furnace. Now we light the bellows. If Part 1 opened the door and showed you the fuel, this part hands you the tools. How to wake the internal source, how to coax the quiet engine into steady hum, how to convert scattered intention into a daily rhythm that actually produces results. This is practical. This is methodical. No fluff. You will learn to prime your mind, rewiring the little hidden circuits that decide whether you act or stall. Start with belief, but don't worship it as a vague spiritual thing. Belief is a map you construct by evidence. You don't say, I believe I can write, and then wait for magic. You say, I will create the conditions that prove I can write, and then you collect that proof. So the first job is to design experiments for your belief. Small, repeatable, measurable experiments. If your aim is to build a habit of exercise, your experiment is not exercise daily. It is show up and perform 2 minutes of movement every day for 7 days. That's it. 2 minutes. That tiny experiment, when observed honestly, becomes data. The data changes your self-narrative. Your subconscious runs on patterns more than promises. It's got a primitive job: conserve energy, avoid pain, and maximize short-term reward. You must speak its language. Predictable inputs, consistent cues, and tiny wins. That's why repetition and ritual are not cute extras. They are the plumbing of transformation. Choose one anchor, a single small habit, and attach it to an existing routine. If you brush your teeth every morning, attach one micro-action to that. Write one sentence, do one set of stretches, read one paragraph. The anchor makes the new behavior automatic because the brain already recognizes the context. Visualization is not daydreaming, it's pre-living. When you rehearse the exact scene of success, the smell of the air, the rhythm of your hands, the way you sit, you prime the mind to accept that version of yourself as familiar. The more vivid the rehearsal, the stronger the neural pathway. Don't just imagine outcomes, imagine the process. See yourself dealing with resistance, hearing the inner voice whisper doubts, and then choosing the action anyway. When Earl Nightingale and others talked about the power of thought, they were describing this rehearsal process, thought as practice. Use visualization like a rehearsal script, then run the real scene for short durations until the future feels like a familiar habit. Language matters. The sentences you repeat are instructions to your nervous system. Avoid vague, grand statements that your body cannot match. I'm going to change my life is abstract. I will write 200 words now is concrete. State the smallest actionable step and then do it immediately. The immediacy turns language into motion. Over time, your language shifts from permission-seeking to command. You move from asking your brain for validation to telling it what to do next. Now let's talk about environment. Motivation is brittle when the environment is noisy. Remove friction, not by forcing willpower, but by changing the terrain. If social media derails you, make it harder to access during your peak work window. If clutter steals focus, clear a small workspace where decisions are minimized. Tiny environmental changes compound. Put your running shoes beside the bed. Keep a notebook in the kitchen. Arrange your phone out of arm's reach during your ritual. These are small architectural edits that make the path of least resistance the productive path. A practical tactic many people ignore is accountability, but not just any accountability. Public declarations without a plan are theater. The accountability that works pairs public commitment with measurable micro-actions and a short feedback loop. Tell a friend, I will post one short clip of my progress every day for 5 days. That tiny public loop creates immediate social pressure and keeps your system honest. If you don't want public exposure, create a private accountability contract, an automatic calendar reminder that lists your micro-action and a checkbox. The key is visible measurement. When resistance arrives, and it will, have a counter strategy. Resistance always disguises itself as reason. I'm too tired. I don't have enough time. I need to plan more. You need an interrupt. Use the 5-minute rule or the 2-minute anchor. Promise yourself only 2 minutes. If after 2 minutes you want to quit, quit. Most often, you keep going. That's because action produces motivation more reliably than the reverse. The first 5 minutes break the spell of indecision. Another blunt tool: redefine what success looks like for the short term. Stop scoring failure by the ultimate outcome and start scoring the truth. Did you follow the system? If your system is write 1 paragraph daily, then success is clear. By redefining success around process, you free yourself from the black and white trap of heroic performance. Consistent small wins beat sporadic heroics every time. You will be tempted to leap to big solutions, the perfect planner, the course, the guru's latest method. Beware. Tools are only as good as the small, steady practices that sustain them. Use tools to reduce friction, not to replace discipline. If a planner helps you record the 1 micro-action, great. If not, ditch it. Keep the simplest setup that reliably helps you perform the tiny things. Here's a concrete micro-plan you can start with this very minute. Choose the single most important project for the week, break it into daily micro-actions no larger than 5 minutes each, pick an existing daily routine as your anchor, and commit to a 30-second ritual to initiate action. That ritual could be 3 deep breaths, a glass of water, and opening the specific document you will work on. That ritual signals your brain the work window starts now. Do it every day, even when you feel nothing. The repetition creates a groove that momentum can ride. Remember identity again. You are not trying to become someone else overnight. You are creating evidence for a new identity through tiny actions. Each micro-action is a stamp in your ledger. I did this. Over time, the ledger speaks a new truth. Napoleon Hill talked about definitive purpose. Treat that purpose as an organizing sentence, not as a distant trophy. Let it answer the question, who am I pursuing? The pursuit reshapes you. Embrace boredom as a hallmark of real work. When you chase only excitement, you end up chasing novelty, which sabotages depth. The internal source is not a perpetual peak. It is the capacity to do what matters, even when the feelings are flat. Train for boredom by performing your micro-actions on days you'd rather do anything else. Each boring repetition is an upgrade to your internal wiring. Finally, build a feedback loop that is humane. At the end of each day, ask 3 simple questions. What did I do? What evidence shows progress? And what small adjustment will make tomorrow easier? No shame, just facts. This loop prevents black and white thinking and speeds learning. If you miss a day, note the cause and design a tweak that lowers friction. Progress is an engineering problem, not a morality play. Now, I want you to act. Pick 1 project and write down the absolute smallest step you can take in the next 20 minutes. Don't intellectualize it. Don't plan for heroics. Do that 1 step. Then come back here and write in the comments what you did and how it felt. Be specific. What was the step? How long did it take? And what resistance appeared? Your answer will not be judged. It will be fuel for the next part of your transformation. What will you do in the next 20 minutes that proves you're serious? Part 3. Keeping the fire alive is different from lighting it. Starting is adrenaline. Staying lit is engineering. If you want your internal source to outlast short-term highs and marketable pep talks, you must learn to manage the slow seasons, the plateaus, the gray mornings when nothing feels dramatic. This part is for the days when effort feels ordinary, because those days are the backbone of extraordinary results. First fact, motivation is not constant. It's a wave. Expect the dips. The problem is not the dip itself, but what you do when it comes. Most people treat dips as signals to stop. The smarter move is to treat dips as signals to apply strategy. When energy is low, shrink the action until you can do it. When the brain screams, "Not now," remind it you only need to show up, not perform like a hero. The muscle of consistency grows from showing up when you don't want to. That's the quality that separates the talkers from the makers. Micro wins are how you rebuild momentum daily. A micro win is a tiny, undeniable victory. One paragraph finished, one sales email sent, one set completed. Micro wins are not small emotionally, they are enormous because they produce evidence. Your nervous system is a tracker. It doesn't care about your intentions, it cares about outcomes. Each micro win sends a chemical memo that says progress exists. Over weeks, those memos stack into a new identity that reads as proof. I am someone who finishes what they start. So design your day around micro wins, not giant rare triumphs. How to structure micro wins. Break projects into the smallest possible next steps, not tasks, but the single next visible act. For example, if you want to launch a product, a micro win could be draft the headline for the sales page, not write the whole page, not design the funnel, just the headline. It's simple, measurable, immediate. Do 3 of these each day and the work becomes unstoppable. The trick is not more willpower, it's better granularity. Celebrate micro wins. I don't mean extravagant parties. I mean mark them, a checkbox, a quick note in a progress file, a 5-second fist pump. The ceremony doesn't need to be large, it needs to exist. Small celebration releases dopamine and trains your brain to enjoy the process. Over time, the anticipation of the small reward becomes motivation itself. That's compounding with no mystery. Sustainability requires you to be fair to yourself. This isn't about relentless punishment for missed targets. It's about clear feedback and compassionate iteration. When you mess, ask practical questions. What friction made this hard? What tiny change would remove that friction? Adjust the system, not the soul. If your system relies on motivation, redesign it to require less of it. The goal is to design a machine that runs autonomously on simple inputs. One of the most underused tactics is deliberate recovery. You think recovery is the absence of work. It isn't. Recovery is strategic fuel management. Build planned recovery into your calendar. Short mental resets, real sleep, movement, a break that is actually restful and not just screen time. When you manage your energy, your internal furnace burns steadier, not in fits. Think of yourself as a machine you must tune. Heat, oil, rest, and calibration. Neglect one and performance drops. Community is a multiplier when chosen well. Surround yourself with a few people who reflect the level you want to reach. Not a crowd of cheerleaders, but a small group that demands evidence. Accountability works best when it's concrete. Share one micro action publicly and a simple proof. The right group removes the isolation that kills motivation. If you can't find peers in person, find one accountability partner online and trade daily micro report cards. The human element turns private discipline into a small social contract. Rituals anchor your day, systems scale your effort. A ritual might be a 5-minute prep routine before work. Water, breath, 3 sentences of intention. A system is the place where your rituals live, a workspace, a calendar block, a naming convention for files. Rituals tell your brain work without debate. Systems make the work repeatable. Build both. A ritual without a system is theater. A system without a ritual is cold and easy to ignore. Expect plateaus. Plateaus are the proof that you're playing a long game. When results pause, attention often drops. This is when your identity must carry you. If your identity is, I am someone who practices daily, you will keep showing up through the plateau. If your identity is, I chase results, you'll bail when results falter. Choose the identity that rewards process. Make evidence, those micro wins, your currency. Use timers for focus. Work in honest blocks and then rest. Say to yourself, I will work for 45 minutes and then take 10. During the 45, commit to one micro action. The timer removes the argument about quantity by making a pact. Limited time, absolute focus. Over weeks, focused blocks add up and saturate your competence. The brain is lazy but precise. Give it a compact assignment and it complies. When motivation fades, meaning can revive it. Reconnect often to why you do this. Not the surface reasons, the deeper ones. Ask, who will I become if I keep going? What would my life look like in 3 years? Visualize the future with sensory detail, then return to the smallest next step. The future vision is the North Star. The micro action is the step you can take right now to prove loyalty to that star. Guard against perfectionism disguised as discipline. Perfectionism says you must get it right or don't bother. Discipline says show up, refine, repeat. Perfectionism creates paralysis. Discipline creates learning loops. Train yourself to release the need for flawless execution. Ship imperfect work. Gather feedback. Improve. The faster you move from idea to evidence, the quicker your internal system learns that your actions matter. Build feedback loops that are immediate and readable. At the end of the day, answer 3 blunt prompts. What did I do? What was the result? What is one micro adjustment for next time? Keep it short. Over weeks, patterns reveal themselves and you can tweak the machine. Successful people are not luckier. They are better at extracting signals from small data and changing the machine accordingly. Use rewards smartly. Not every micro win needs a treat, but strategic rewards help during hard phases. Make rewards contingent and proportional. They should be simple and real. A 20-minute walk, a favorite coffee, a brief call with a friend. Don't let rewards become the only reason you act. Make them seasoning, not sustenance. Finally, remember growth is messy. You will have days of backward motion. Use them for learning, not judgment. When you stumble, annotate the reason without shame and iterate. The best practice is to keep the ledger of micro wins and the notes about tweaks together. Progress and learning in one place. Over months, you will be amazed at how the ledger transforms into a real map of change. Now act. Tonight or in the next hour, pick 3 micro wins you can achieve in one day related to the project you care about. Make them visible, write them down, check them off, and mark one small reward for completion. After you finish them, come back and write in the comments the 3 micro wins and which one surprised you most by how motivating it felt. Be specific. What were the wins? How long each took? And what you felt after checking the last box. What small victory today made you believe you could keep going? Part 4. Everything you've learned so far matters, but none of it counts until it translates into action. This part is about brutal practicality, how you turn the internal furnace into sustained, visible work, how you stop rehearsing and start shipping, how you punch through fear, procrastination, and the 1,000 comfortable compromises that steal your days. If you want transformation, you must become a person who acts when it's hard, not when it's convenient. That switch is surgical, learnable, and repeatable. First, understand the enemy, hesitation. Hesitation is not just laziness, it's a decision architecture problem. Your brain is wired to avoid loss and seek certainty. Action equals risk. So your job is to redesign the decision architecture so that action looks safer, simpler, and more automatic than not acting. That's where implementation intentions come in. Don't say, "I'll work later." Say exactly, "When it is 9 o'clock, I will open the document and write 200 words." Make it specific, time-bound, and observable. Your brain prefers clear orders over vague ideas. Use if-then plans to neutralize typical derailers. If I feel resistance, then I will work for 5 minutes. If my phone distracts me, then I will put it in another room for 1 block. These if-then scripts are tiny contracts with yourself that eliminate the argument. They transform willpower fights into automatic responses. Write them down and place them where you will see them at the moment of choice. Pre-commitment is your friend. When stakes are low, willpower collapses. Raise the stakes in an intelligent way. Public commitments, money on the line bets, or simple accountability contracts work. Tell one person the small action you will do and when you will do it. Then make the proof visible. A screenshot, a short clip, a time-stamped file. The visible proof collapses excuses. Use this sparingly and strategically. Public accountability amplifies short-term pressure onto long-term habit when paired with small actions. Temptation bundling is a clever hack. Pair the thing you resist with something you love. Only listen to your favorite podcast while you run. Only drink your preferred coffee while you write the first draft. The pleasant activity becomes a reward and a prompt for the unpleasant but necessary action. This is not cheating. It's engineering dopamine into a sustainable loop that favors long-term goals. Structure your time like a professional, not a hobbyist. Time blocking is not about rigid schedules. It's about creating protected windows where one type of work dominates. During that window, limit decisions and reduce context switching. If you have a large project, break it into play sessions. 60 to 90 minutes of focused action, then a real break. Use a visible timer. Defend those blocks the way you would defend an important appointment. When your environment knows you're in a work block, it will adapt. Your brain understands signals. Batch similar tasks. Human attention is expensive. If you constantly switch contexts, you pay a cognitive tax. Group creative work in deep blocks, administrative tasks in separate slots, and communication in short bursts. Batching creates rhythm and reduces the friction of starting. Make starting easier than stopping. That's the tactical core of discipline. Arrange the first step so small that you can't justify not doing it. Put a single file open on your desktop that says starthere.docx. Place your workout clothes beside the bed. Preload your tools so the only action required is the minimal shove. Once you move, momentum will usually carry you further. Use the premortem. Forecast failure before it happens. Spend 5 minutes imagining why you will fail at this task this week. Be brutal and specific. I will fail because my phone pings me, because I haven't planned the first step, because I'll feel tired after lunch. Then create if-then fixes for those exact reasons. The premortem converts vague fear into tactical changes. The finish line ritual matters. Decide in advance how you will close a session. A ritual could be 3 sentences in a notebook that summarize progress, a short stretch, or saving and naming the file with the date. The ritual creates closure and creates visible evidence of the work done. Over time, this small ceremony becomes a habit that signals completion and primes you for the next session. When fear feels real, attack it with evidence. Fear feeds on imagination. Action feeds on facts. If you fear criticism, publish a small piece and collect the responses as data. If you fear failure, run a tiny experiment that produces one measurable result. Use experiments, not proclamations, to dismantle fear. Successful people run dozens of small experiments that accumulate into competence. They don't wait for perfect conditions. Learn to fail forward. Mistakes are not moral verdicts. They are data points. Every misstep tells you one tweak to make the machine run smoother. Keep a short log. Mistake, cause, tweak. No shame, only modification. The faster you iterate, the faster you convert intention into reliable output. Create keystone habits that unlock other behaviors. Keystone habits are the few practices that cascade into broader change. A 5-minute morning writing ritual that prompts a day with higher focus, or a nightly planning habit that reduces decision fatigue for the next day. Identify one keystone that relates directly to your most important project and protect it fiercely. If you can keep one keystone habit consistent, it will bootstrap several other positive behaviors. Handle perfectionism with an execution rule. Ship before polishing. Set a versioning rule, version 0.1, and release imperfect work intentionally. Keep a short list of improvements for the next pass. This prevents endless polishing and keeps the feedback loop alive. The market, your audience, or your own experience will tell you what to fix. Waiting for perfect is usually procrastination in disguise. Design your environment to be a rudder, not a tug of war. Remove obvious friction and add obvious prompts. If you want to write, create a dedicated writing space with minimal visual noise and necessary tools in place. If you want to exercise, make the equipment visible and accessible. If you want to learn, keep the book or course app in the first screen. The easier the environment makes the action, the less willpower you burn. Measure what matters. Keep a simple scoreboard. Don't track everything. Track the one metric closest to action. Days of the micro-habit completed, words produced, minutes practiced. A visible streak is a powerful psychological motivator. The scoreboard is not to shame you, it's to show progress and inform adjustments. Protect your energy like currency. Your ability to act is tied to sleep, nutrition, movement, and mental margins. When these are taxed, your decision architecture collapses. Regularly schedule real rest and avoid the myth
that hustle deserves sacrifice of fundamentals. Energy management is not optional, it's performance optimization. Finally, build rituals for reignition. There will be weeks when grit feels low. Have a pre-built set of reignition moves: a short retreat day, a no-device morning, a 24-hour creative sprint, or a switch of location. These moves reset pattern-seeking minds and jumpstart momentum again. Now, the practical challenge. Pick the one project that matters most and design the action architecture around it. Write down, right now, the exact implementation intention you will use, one if-then fallback, a pre-commitment you will make public, and the keystone habit you will protect. Keep it small and specific. I want you to share and commit. Write a comment naming the single fear that most blocks you from starting and the single tiny action you will take in the next 60 minutes to prove that fear wrong. Be specific. What is the action? How long will it take? And how will you show proof? Your answer is not for applause, it's your first public micro-contract. What fear will you face now, and what tiny step will you take to break its hold? Part 5. This is where everything converges. You've learned how to light the furnace, how to prime the bellows, how to engineer momentum and translate it into action. Now you will learn how to live from that internal source every day, not as a temporary sprint, but as a steady way of being. This is about integration, turning the mechanics of motivation into the architecture of your life, so that the person you want to be becomes the person you are, even on ordinary days. First, accept that integration is not glamorous. It's built from tiny, stubborn acts repeated long enough to become invisible. The goal is to bake systems into your day so thoroughly that your sense of purpose and your habits are married. When purpose and habit marry, you stop negotiating with yourself every morning. You move. That marriage starts with clarity. Know the few things that truly matter to you and ruthlessly protect the time and space for them. A life without clarity is 1,000 decisions that feed distraction. Clarity simplifies everything. Design your long-term scaffolding around seasons. Life changes, careers shift, relationships evolve, responsibilities multiply. Don't fight the seasons, design for them. In a heavy season, shrink your micro-habits but keep them sacred. In a light season, expand them and take new experiments. The point, maintain continuity, not intensity. The measure of a life well led is not continuous sprinting, it's consistent alignment over years. That alignment is how the internal source becomes a steady flame, not a series of campfires. Build systems that are forgiving. The purpose of a system is to absorb human variability and still produce outcomes. If your system collapses because you miss one day, it's brittle. A forgiving system has buffers, scheduled recovery, flexible windows, backup microactions, and a simple daily ledger that records wins without drama. Schedule audits, short moments every week to check what's working and what's leaking. Adjust ruthlessly. Systems are not set and forget. They are living things that you prune and feed. Create a personal culture. Culture is not just for organizations. You will create a culture for how you live and work. Decide on 3 non-negotiables that define your personal culture. Principles that you return to when choices are ambiguous. Maybe one is finish what I start. Another is protect morning focus. Another is ship quickly, then refine. Write them down, post them where you see them, and let them become the default arguments you use when resistance speaks. Culture short-circuits debate. It tells you what to do before the argument begins. Grow your capacity slowly. Ambition is valuable, but capacity is the engine. Capacity, emotional, physical, cognitive, is what allows you to sustain high-quality work. Invest in it daily through real sleep, movement, narrow focus, nutrition, and mental decluttering. The loud myth says hustle deserves sacrifice. The smarter move is to treat yourself like a high-performance instrument. Tune regularly. A well-rested, well-fed, well-focused person makes better decisions more often. That's leverage. Teach what you learn. There is no better way to integrate knowledge than by teaching it. When you explain your system, your rituals, your micro-actions to another person, you clarify them in your own mind and discover the gaps. Mentor someone, share your micro-habit checklist, or create short reports on your progress. Teaching is feedback that accelerates mastery and turns private discipline into public influence. Scale your small wins into a map of momentum. Keep the ledger I recommended earlier and merge it into a monthly map. Patterns, most effective micro-actions, times of day that work best, energy peaks, and recurring sabotage points. Use that map to design experiments for the next month. The map turns anecdote into strategy. You are not hoping, you are engineering.
Lead yourself like a team. Leadership isn't about a title. It's about decisions that move things forward. Treat your life as a project you lead. Hold regular planning sessions with yourself. Set one big aim for the month, break it into weekly micro goals, and protect the blocks in your calendar that make those weekly wins possible. When you lead your life with the same rigor you'd bring to an important project, the friction around movement drops drastically. Integrate relationships into your engine. Motivation is not only an inside job, it is social. Surround yourself with a few reliable people who reflect the level you want to reach. Not a noisy crowd, but a small, honest circle that talks truth and shows up. Relationships are accelerants or anchors. Choose them wisely. Share your keystone habits with someone who will celebrate micro wins and help design better systems when things stall. Practice legacy thinking. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be known as in 5 years? What tiny habits will that person have done every week to get there? When you orient action around identity and legacy, small acts acquire weight. Legacy thinking regrounds daily choices in long-term meaning and turns ephemeral motivation into durable purpose. Use periodic resets intentionally. Every quarter, do a short reset day or weekend. Remove devices, reevaluate your map, test one new experiment. The reset day is not escape, it is calibration. The human mind loves novelty, but also needs restoration. Reset intentionally, and you will find clarity returns faster than effort alone can produce. Refine your rituals into anchors for the seasons of life. Morning rituals that anchor your day, pre-work rituals that open focus, midday rituals that reset energy, and evening rituals that close the story. Rituals are short. They are consistent. They are not performance. They are the levers that move your system without needing the drama of motivation each time. Keep the balance between compassion and accountability. Harshness kills. Complacency stalls. Be strict about the system and kind about the person. When you miss, analyze the leak and patch it. When you win, mark it. Both moves are part of a sane, sustainable system. Leverage the wisdom of those who came before, but don't worship them. Napoleon Hill's idea of a clear purpose, Dale Carnegie's lessons on human connection, Earl Nightingale's emphasis on thought as practice. These are lenses, not dogma. Extract what helps you design your life and leave what doesn't. Use the ideas as tools, not as chains. Finally, convert motivation into influence. When your internal source stabilizes, your actions stop being private experiments and start shaping the people and environments around you. That's responsibility, not vanity. Your growth becomes oxygen for others, a model, a standard, a permission to do the work. When you've built a furnace that sustains you, you are better able to contribute, to teach, to lead. Now, here's your finishing challenge. Create a simple one-page life map tonight. On it, write your top 3 priorities for the next 6 months, the keystone habit that supports each priority, one micro action you will take daily for each habit, and one weekly reset or audit you will do to keep the system honest. Keep it visible for the next month. That map is the blueprint you will follow when the winds change. I want to hear from you, loudly and specifically. Post a comment sharing one priority from your life map, the keystone habit you chose to support it, and the single micro action you will take in the next 24 hours to honor that habit. Be concrete. Be honest. This is the moment you move from theory to a public micro contract. What single habit will you protect no matter what, starting now? If this series helped you and you want more practical work like this, subscribe and hit like.